Okay, there we go. It had the wrong mic. Thank you, Joshy. Okay, here we go. Whew. Good thing I was only in an intro. Hadn't gotten to things yet. I like okay, so my YouTube channel right now I'm talking about crime and stuff because that's my thing. And so yeah, welcome to the Talk with Rose place. But like what I was talking on Twitch about was my Twitch viewers is like if you want me to review something and we make a YouTube video of it, you know, like because they were having me review like Taylor Swift videos and stuff. Like it's like we could make a whole like YouTube video of it. Just let me know, you know, hey, I want to go over to YouTube. Let's go do some reviews over there. And so it's not my channel's just to talk about your interest, my interest, everybody's interest, not just. And right now, like it is kind of like crime focused because I'm running it, but as soon as everybody else is running it, we could do whatever you guys want to. But I did this Gypsy Rose Iceberg last week, and because I did the work and I've been thinking about it, I want to just get I just want to do the video because me and Fur were talking, and I almost gave up on it, but then. I mean, cause this story's never ending. Like I told Fury, this iceberg's never gonna end. It just goes way too deep. Like it's multiple icebergs, and I said I'm never gonna. And I suggested a couple other shorter ones that we want to do too. Look at all the facts and stuff. So I go out, I'll watch the videos, I'll find out all the facts. And cuz yeah, it's crazy to watch cuz I'm going to go over a short list of people that I watched in a minute that I'll tell you. So I'm giving credit where credit's due of the YouTubers that I went and got everybody's facts to build this iceberg and some of my own. Like, I'm glad. I originally was just going to do this video just talking about. I'm glad people are starting to notice about Christy. They're somewhat touching the tip of that iceberg about, well, why is Christy always in the background? It's like, aha. Because if you look at pictures of Gypsy, so Gypsy was 14, 15 years old when Hurricane Katrina hit. And they went to Missouri. She was like 14, 15 years old. And Christy, we'll get into that craziness, has been there since before Gypsy was even conceived. So there, towards the end of the iceberg, we'll get into some of that craziness of how's Christy always been there, because she has. Where was it? So she's not in any of the pictures. It's always Rod, Dee Dee, and Gypsy. Or Rod and Gypsy. But where's Christy? Not until Mommy Dead and Dearest. Not until Gypsy was in jail. Because when Gypsy first became in jail, it was still just Rod. It was still just Rod. Rod at the jail. Rod at the courtrooms. Rod was there. It was just Rod. Not until Mommy Dead and Dearest. Then you get Christy popping up in all the photos. And Mia. As soon as Mommy Dead and Dearest hit, Christy was in every interview. Christy was at the forefront as soon as Mommy Dead and Dearest. And that's what I was talking about. Gypsy, it's so hard when you go from. There's all different kinds of abuse. People sometimes use negative things to abuse you with, like mentally, physically, sexually, other things. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting my disclaimers. By the way, all of this is all for entertainment purposes. It's to get everybody critically thinking and talking. And so I'm just pulling facts so that we can critically think and talk about this situation. That's all. Entertainment purposes, none of this. Some of this may be true, some of it may not be true, we don't know. But it's just all the facts and gossip around the internet going on, so we can critically talk about it. Because critically talking is how we get places, anyways. So, anyways, yeah, so soon as mommy, dad, and dear says, oh, you got Christy posing at the posters, and now not only is she in the pictures, but she's always right up next to Gypsy. Either Rod's on the other side or Rod's behind Christy, but Christy's right there on Gypsy. So when Gypsy first came out of prison in her first week, and did that whole day of interviews, in her interview she stated, my ex Ken is already trying to talk to me, and he's not respecting that I'm married, because Ken has already called Christy. Now why would a stepmom call up her daughter-in-law and say, hey, your ex wants to talk? If you're married, okay, you don't do that to your daughter-in-law. If my daughter-in-law's ex is called, my son would probably kill me if I gave him their numbers. I would never do that. I would be like, no. I'd be like, nah, I'm not gonna talk to them for you. It's like, they're happily married, leave them alone, they're living their life. It's like, I'm sorry you want to get a hold of them, but it's like, especially knowing some of the feelings you don't get over some of your exes, I would not do that to my daughter-in-law. However, 3 hours is quite the distance of travel. It is. I know. My kids live 3.5 hours away. I know what that distance is like to drive every other weekend. Imagine driving that almost every day so you could be in the Lifetime. Gosh, that must have been really hard on Christy to constantly meet them, to put that in her schedule, to constantly meet them places around Louisiana so that she can be in the Lifetime. But not if she talked Gypsy into divorcing Ryan. And see, this is where I'm talking about love and support can be a type of abuse if you're doing it with all the wrong intentions. Oh, we support you. I'm sorry Ryan is doing this to you. You know we're always here for you. You know your dad told you if things went wrong, we're here for you. We have a bedroom for you. See, love and support done in the wrong way can be a type of control and abuse, because Christy wants Lifetime filming at her house. Christy, she doesn't love Gypsy. She wants the cameras on her and Mia. She's never loved Gypsy. And we'll get into that towards the end of the Iceberg too. Cause did I find out some stuff on this family. I mean, every family does have their skeletons, but jeez, this family. Woo, Rod. So, what I'm seeing is that new love and support and control. Control through love and support. So you gotta be careful when you leave one abuser that you're not going to another abuser just because they're loving and supporting you, okay? It's really hard to tell when somebody's using love and support as abuse and control. It is. I don't imagine. That's why you should always go get a counselor. If you feel like your situation could be bad, I would go get a counselor and consult a counselor and sit there and say, this is my life, this is what's going on, what do I do? You know, and she's already in counseling, so she should be consulting her counselor, because that woman doesn't like Rod's other children. Was never there for any of Rod's other children. Not until all those cameras came knocking. People like Fancy came knocking. I mean, Christy even put Fancy at the top of the family. And it's like, hey, you're the spokesperson for the family. Christy took Fancy with her to all the interviews and stuff. And because at first Christy was kind of like, well, I don't know how to handle this limelight and blah, blah, blah. And let people come in and help her. And then, oh gosh, this iceberg just gets bad. Let me tell you, we'll get into more of this. I'm like, I shouldn't spoil this iceberg because it just gets bad, by the way. It just gets, by the time I get to the end of my iceberg, we're getting into some major gossip and entertainment and theories. Okay, so let me give a shout out to all of those wonderful streamers out there that did their homework, streamed a lot of this, and so yeah, don't shoot me when I do say Good Wives Network and Fancy Maselli, because it took me a while to start watching her videos, because I didn't know if I should or shouldn't, and they were kind of awkward at first to watch, but I did not only have to rely on Fancy's receipts, but some of what she said I found elsewhere in other videos, and I was like, oh, Fancy already busted that out. So it's like, okay, well, then that must be true, because the cop said it, Fancy said it. So don't discredit her just because Christy's discrediting her, because and that is true when people don't like people talking the truth and do want to shut them down, because if you're trying to spin a good lie, but you got somebody out there saying, no, this is how it really went down, yeah, you're going to want to discredit them. The oldest trick in the book, discredit the person telling the truth and get everybody to hate them. So don't shoot me when I say Good Wives Network, because their stuff can be backed up. And not through their own videos. So Toddy One Skip, he's really great, just straight out gives his opinion. Flawless Nina, Hello Starlight, Crime Rewind, reporting live from my sofa, Law and Crime Network, That Girl Casey, she's an RN who will go over some of Gypsy's videos and be like, actually this is how it happens. So she's an RN looking at these videos. So she does kind of a crime iceberg too. I didn't know somebody else. I thought I would be the first one doing a crime iceberg. But she does what she calls a crime iceberg, and she goes through all Gypsy Rose's videos and past interviews as a regular person interested in it, and also from the perspective of an RN who is looking at it going, well, and so she'll go through it. So she's kind of cool if you want an RN's perspective. And then also Crime for Dummies. Crime for Dummies is the place where I was talking about in a past video, where you're going to find all the interrogation videos. So if you want to sit through hours and hours and hours of interrogation videos, Crime for Dummies. Okay. So let's start with the well-known facts. We're going to go through I started writing down well-known facts, and I was kind of like, gosh, everybody just knows these. So then I started skipping towards, because like I said, this crime iceberg could go on forever. So I stopped with all the well-known and started getting into the good stuff, because I was like, oh gosh, but we'll reiterate some of these. We're going to reiterate some of these well-known ones. And also, if I can figure out how to add a source, because I want to show my screens so that I can window capture. There we go. Because I want to show some. There's going to be I don't know. What window is it capturing? Did it do it? Because there's some. I'm not used to doing YouTube. Because there's some photos I wanted to show along the way too on the crime iceberg. Because this gets great. This gets great as we get down into the iceberg. Some photos need to be seen. Okay, so here we go. Starting with the well-known facts. We know she spent 8.5 years in prison. She was sentenced to 10, and she got her parole hearing at that, like what, 15% or something, or 10% or something. You get parole, and you know what? People talk about, why is she out on parole? Why? And I was explaining this to my husband the other night, because they're like, why is she out on parole? She should be in there for another year and a half. Now here's the difference, and maybe this will change your guys' mind that you might be glad she's out on parole, okay? So first of all, if we take what Gypsy says, and she's gone from one prison to the next prison to reality, okay? And she doesn't know how to navigate reality. Now here's the difference between if she gets out on parole and if she gets out into... So if she, say she failed parole, she's in there for the whole sentence. 10 years is up, what happens? Gypsy's released from prison. Free and clear. No probation officer, no parole, no nothing. Yep. Hold on 2 seconds, guys. Sorry, personal stuff. Had to handle. Okay, where were we? Okay, so you should be glad you got out on parole, because for the next year and a half? Yep. What?
They don't have our back child support. They don't have any kids, not in any cases, no.
Do you got the papers where the judge
You
ordered
know
it?
that's gonna print on up on this later.
Hold on, I'm in the middle of a YouTube video, and I don't want to talk this personal stuff on YouTube. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so anyways, okay, let's see. What do we got? Okay, so for the next year and a half, she's actually going to be guided by a probation officer. Everybody keeps asking why her parole officer is letting her do more than a normal parolee would get. They're probably granting her some leniency for... I mean, I don't know if they should be letting her go to LA and all of that. And I mean, technically it's for work and you're supposed to have a job while you're on probation. So it's like, it's a hard line because, yeah, she's out there in LA having a crap load of fun. And it's pissing everybody off. Just off. And, but part of her work is play. So, because the more play she does out there, the more gossip and drama we get, right? So, whatever. But at least for the next year and a half, she's gonna be being guided, okay? Because that's the difference. If she goes back in, she'll spend the next year and a half in there. She'll get out there on her 10 mark, and then she has no guidance except for Christy and Rod. Which, when the cameras are gone, I don't know how much help they're gonna be. So, okay, next fact. Top of the iceberg. Her boyfriend, Nick Godejohn. We'll get into that one too as the iceberg goes down. It unalived her mom. And she met him on a Christian dating site where she has 5 alter egos, 5 different Facebooks. And the first time they ever met up was during that Cinderella movie where they tried to have a little intimacy in the bathroom. And, well, Gypsy walked away disappointed because, well, Nick wasn't her first, and I mean, it kind of tells you more about did she use Nick? Because she walked away disappointed because she knows what intimacy is all about, and he failed. But she still, she couldn't exactly get anybody else to do it. I don't know how many other guys she solicited, because Dan's a big question mark on did she try and solicit Dan to do it. But we're getting into a medium fact here. To get Nick to unalive her mom, she told Nick that off that encounter, she got pregnant with their daughter, because she's only like a month pregnant, so you don't know the gender of the baby by then. But Nick always wanted a daughter, so Gypsy said, hey, my mom made me change out my feeding tube, cost me to miscarry, I lost your daughter. So, yeah, that's when Nick said the B is. And so we'll get deeper into this one. Is the top of the iceberg, but there's something that counters it towards the bottom of the iceberg, that she suffered medical abuse at the hands of her mother. So that's kind of a well-known fact that's been in the newspapers, but we're going to go deeper into that a little bit later if you want to talk about that one. So some of those medical abuse was she was told that she had sleep apnea, cancer, leukemia, one or the other, or both, muscular dystrophy, learning disability, vision impairment, problems with her ears, stuff like that. Now, and I don't know if I have this more deeper in the iceberg, but I thought about talking about this too. But if you listen to Fancy's videos, she'll tell you exactly what I cannot remember. It's not an easy chromosomal disorder to remember because it doesn't have a cool name attached to it. It's got a scientific name attached to it. Some kind of like negative blah blah 0.2 what something. Anyways, if you go to Fancy's videos, she'll tell you exactly the chromosomal disorder. She'll tell you the website to go look it up at. And so you can go check these facts out for yourself, because Fancy not only shows you receipts, she also tells you how to go get it yourself. So you can get the receipts for yourself. You don't have to just rely on what the Good Wives Network says. You can go get the receipts yourself. So her mom changed her birth year from 91 to 93 to 95. And the same doctor's office multiple different times. Whew. Okay. And so we do know that she did take that plea deal for the 10 years in second-degree murder. Murder. Whoops. Instead of first degree. And we know about the documentaries and TV shows, because you got The Act and Mommy Dead and Dearest, and then people like Fancy and the cops and the prosecution also, they did their own A&E stuff, I think, and like the whole 8.5 years Gypsy was in jail, there was all kinds of things on TV about this. And so Gypsy, it was said that she was put in that wheelchair after she scraped her knee on a motorcycle accident with her grandfather. Well, there's pictures of her in a knee cast. And then somewhere from the knee cast, she goes to the wheelchair. And this is where I would love to show a picture because, so apparently, Gypsy was about 5 when she went into this wheelchair. Little girl. The 5-year-old little girl. There is a picture later on when she's like 8 or 9 years old, a little bit older, out of her wheelchair, in a picture with Rod and Dee Dee, out of her wheelchair. So it makes you question and wonder how much Rod and Christy knew. Did they know that Dee Dee was pulling a con and a scam? Because why is Gypsy out of her wheelchair behind Rod all? Yay! You could tell she's standing up and she's behind Rod and she's standing up straight. And it's like, okay, that's older than 5. And so you can look these pictures up yourself. If you go through, after watching this video, go through some of Gypsy's childhood photos with this different perspective in your mind. Look at the ages she's in the wheelchair. Look at the ages she's in pictures with Rod without the wheelchair. And so you're going, what did Dee Dee tell Rod? Why is she out of her wheelchair? I don't know. What did she say? Now, according to the chromosomal disorder, she would have a weakness in her legs, but not so. It just depends on how bad the deletion is. She could have a slight weakness in her legs. So what's kind of funny, though, is I was thinking about this, because Gypsy's like, well, I knew I could walk. And what else did she say she knew? And it's like, but, okay, first of all, you knew you could walk. But you didn't know what other, you thought the asthma, cancer, and everything was real. But, because it's like, you knew you could walk. You weren't exactly taking the meds, so you knew you probably weren't sick. You knew that wasn't your natural voice. It's like, there's a lot of things that Gypsy is not saying that she knew, that she did fake, because everybody knows she faked that voice. Everybody knows that's not her real voice, that she faked that baby voice. And, she says she didn't know about her age until she was 19. However, I had a different perspective on that when I found out that Hurricane Katrina happened when she was about 14, 15 years old. That's when they reversed her age. I talked about in a past video that 14-year-olds, how much can they really consent to on a con? I mean, I'm sure she did believe her mom. that, hey, if you go in this wheelchair, and I think we're going to talk about this deeper in the iceberg too. It's like, I don't know how much I want to talk about. Gypsy did say she got addicted to painkillers, and she even admits that getting over them and when she ran away, she had them on her. Gypsy ran away to meet Dan in the hospital. Now, either it was Dan's friend in the hospital or it was Dan in the hospital. Somebody was in the hospital, and she went a couple streets down and knocked on somebody's door, and she got them to take her to the hospital and then to Dan's friend's house, and that's where Dee Dee later found her, because she had dropped the phone on the way out, and where she was on the phone. So was that a purpose drop? Was that an accidental drop? I don't know. That's another big question in the air, because did she want to get caught? I don't know. But we do know that Dee Dee does have a history of credit card and check fraud. They talk about that. And apparently when Hurricane Katrina hit and she was living with this other family and they had to evacuate, when they lifted up Dee Dee's bed and cleaned the room, they found more. They found their own mothers. So Dee Dee's not even related to these people, and she stole their mothers. She was living with these people, and while she's living with them, she's stealing their moms' credit cards and everything. And I mean, everybody that Dee Dee touched, she stole their checks, their money, everything. Like, the second you showed Dee Dee kindness and helped her, she was robbing you behind your back, by the way. So it wasn't just her own family she robbed. Anybody who helped her, she robbed. And that's also, we get into the next step where they talked about, Dee Dee might have even starved her mom until she passed on, because she didn't want to take care of her mom forever. She just wanted it to go back to being her and Gypsy. Like mother, like daughter. And then, so kind of medium fact, Gypsy was at a birthday party. In the act, they portrayed as she tried to eat a cupcake. But in real life, they talk about, no, she got up, she jumped on the trampoline, and as soon as Dee Dee came back and pulled up in the driveway, she collapsed on the trampoline and acted like her legs couldn't move anymore. And so this also makes people scratch their heads and go, well, how did people go from 1 second seeing a girl jump up and down laughing, and then next thing she collapses as soon as the mom gets back and it's like, oh, my legs don't work, oh, my legs, I gotta grab them and pull them. So it's like, how much did people know? Because that was at a family thing, and it's like, it's amazing that nobody questions things. And we'll get into this more. People say that Dee Dee has Munchausen by proxy, or is now known in the DSM-5 as factitious order, and factitious order opposed upon another. We're gonna get deeper into maybe not. Maybe not. But that's the fact that's being spread in the newspapers, being spread by Chrissy, and being spread by Gypsy. That's their little crutch to stand on. That. And also, see, the reason why Gypsy's story went so viral, so popular, is because factitious disorder is not a new thing. It's just nobody's ever unalived their abuser. And that's because you're scared of your abuser. And usually, yeah, like, when you're abused, you don't, you just want out of the situation. You just want the situation to stop. And one way or another, it usually does come to an end. And nobody has to unalive anybody. I need to get there's Gypsy apparently has been shutting down this other girl who has, I think I have it later on here too. Her name's, I think, Katie or something. She's trying to come forward talking about her. She lost half of her healthy leg. I saw a little bit of her video. But apparently, Gypsy's been trying to shut her up. Because you can't feel sorry for anybody but Gypsy and donate to Gypsy. Yep.
Time and change. Shoot through the cover.
So that is why it's leaking oil?
You have to buy new cover too.
Okay, how much is that going to cost?
When I was looking on eBay, it looked like it was a couple hundred. But
Can you go get it at AutoZone or anything? Or so is he going to have to come back and fix that? So we got to order the cover. So he can't finish the job and
until we have new cover.
so is he leaving?
If he will be, he's gonna check and see what he can find.
Are you going to pay him for like half the day and give him the other?
How much I owe him, and then he said he'd come back in a minute.
Because I say pay him for half the day and tell him you'll give him the other half when he comes back.
Well, we'll see what
I wouldn't give him the whole thing. I would say here half. Or at least a couple hundred for the couple hours he's already done.
I don't know, we'll see. I was really hoping I had him shoot through the cover.
Well, hopefully Parker really is coming here.
What's that?
Hopefully Parker really is coming here because I don't want to take Tim's car down there. So I did shoot through the cover. I wish I would have known that. Yeah, well, possible fact, and could have prepared for that because now he's gonna have to reschedule. And what if he can't come back for another week or two? Well, I guess pay him some money and reschedule. Car problems, they happen. Toot toot, where were we? Birthday party, Munchausen. When she got out of jail, she had over 8 million on her TikTok. She became quite popular when she got out. And yes, her story is popular because this has never been heard of before. But we'll get deeper into that. This video might go on forever. Because like I said, these facts go on forever. I'm like sitting here going, oh my gosh. These facts go on forever. So her first doctor's visit started at 3 months old for sleep apnea. And Dee Dee did tell everybody about the chromosomal disorder. Rod and everybody knew about that. The whole family knew about that. Now, we're going to get deeper into that too because this is where it plays into there is no factitious disorder. And so while Gypsy was in jail, she wrote books. She set up with Lifetime. She contracted with Lifetime to do a show when she got out. And then she got all those interviews too within that first week. Like within her first week out of prison, I think she said she did like 5 interviews in one day and in person, and then a couple later on that night over the internet, and then a couple more the next day. Like, everybody was interviewing her as soon as she got out. Okay, are we getting into the middle of the iceberg now? Yeah, I think we're in the middle of... Okay, now we're going to start talking about... Now we're going to start talking about the unaliving and everything around that. And we'll talk about the act for a second, because there's a couple facts in here just about the act that I can just cross out of the way. Like, no, she did not have any pets. She did not have any guinea pigs. She did apparently at one point have a dog named Pixie with her mom, just like she did with Ryan. She did not have guinea pigs. So the act did a few extra things. Like, said she had guinea pigs because her mom didn't want her to, be alone, and was trying to get her away from the girl across the street. Now, her mom didn't want her around the girl across, Aaliyah, but she didn't give her guinea pigs. Okay. Yeah, her name's Kate. If you guys look up Munchausen by proxy and Kate on YouTube, you should find the girl that apparently Gypsy is trying to bully into silence, is what I heard. She says she wants to be an advocate, but that's not helping advocate when she puts up posts about real disorders and offends everybody about autism not being a real disorder that needs no. Doesn't matter what level autism you are. I think all autistic people should have advocates. I wish my 2 kids had advocates right now. 'Cause, man... Okay, so we're gonna, yeah, okay, so there we go. Crossed off a couple of semi-medium facts, because now we're gonna start getting into the unaliving, which is where we get into the medium facts you may or may not heard. And so, with that new Lifetime show, by the way, yes, they did reach out to Nina, and Nina's gonna be part of it. It's gonna be interesting to see why they want to include Nina, and what do they... Because I was sitting there secretly going, what if Lifetime is... They're pumping out season 1, 2, and 3 really fast before season 1 even airs. They're filming all these seasons. And is that because they're pro-Gypsy, or they're not pro-Gypsy and they're not going to tell Gypsy that, but they're maybe they're going to do this flip side, and Gypsy thinks her great wonderful life is going to be portrayed in this beautiful light and the lies she's told, and then watch Lifetime turns around and does, oh no, this is the great lie that Gypsy's living. Because why are they pumping out season 1, 2, and 3 so fast? Like, they're filming them really fast. Like, I've never seen a show be so desperate to film. I mean, season 2 is being filmed right now. Before season 1, we barely even get a peek at season 1 right now. And it's not coming out till June for another month. And they're already well into season 2. And Gypsy signed on for season 3. And once she's contracted, they're going to make her go through with it whether she likes it or not, probably. Because I'm going, well, what if she doesn't like it? What if she doesn't like how they portrayed her? But at least she gets to play herself because she wanted Millie Bobby Brown to play her, but Joey King played her. And I guess she finally did watch the act because she refused to watch it because she's like, well, it's not my story. They didn't. Because Christy and Gypsy cried about it while Gypsy was in jail, going, they used my name, my story, and they didn't pay me. Not about whether the story was true or not. It's about money. Once again, it's about money. Well, they didn't pay me for the story. But now, she's like, I'm going to LA and I'm going to meet Joey King. And it's like, but I thought... Well, I guess they've texted and made up. So, she's texted and made up with Joey King being her. You know, so whatever. Okay. So let's get into the unaliving and some medium facts here. So... okay. Okay, so I've watched the interrogation videos a couple times over. You have to watch Gypsy's a couple times over. Go listen to Fancy and then go watch him a couple times over. Because Gypsy talks about, they finally get her to talk about the unaliving. And she tells a story. She says that her mom died on the 9th. That's a big deal. Because we have text message proof that Nick didn't get there till the 10th. Okay? Well, no, he arrived in Springfield on the 9th, but Gypsy said stay at the hotel. And then there was a point where Nick couldn't even get a hold of Gypsy for a half an hour at least. And then Gypsy hurried up and went to the hotel, got Nick, rushed back to her house with Nick to do the unaliving. It didn't happen in the act like how they showed where Nick showed up. And she had the knife and the gloves already and blah, blah, blah. No, like other things went down. And there's rumors and reason for that. So she talks about, she says the 9th. She tells the cop, yes, the 9th. They reiterate it a couple times over. Yes, the 9th. The 9th. And, she tells a story that her mom didn't like her boyfriend. And this is where we get into another medium fact. Let's rewind real quick. You remember the movie theater? You remember Nick was there to meet Dee Dee? What they don't tell you, one of the things that Gypsy's hiding, is that Nick did meet Dee Dee, and Dee Dee did like Nick. She did think he was a little weird, but she did like him better than Dan. Now, there's a picture out there of Gypsy in her Cinderella costume, posed right next to Nick, smiling for the camera. Smiling for what camera? Who's holding the camera? Who took the picture? Dee Dee took the picture. Well, if Dee Dee took a picture of both of them together at the movie theater, but Dee Dee hated Nick, then why did Dee Dee take the picture of them together? Well, that's kind of weird. Well, that's odd. She hated Nick. She wouldn't have took a photo of them smiling together. Unless they had unless they snuck out and been like, hey, Steph, come here, take a photo of us. But I don't think so. I think Dee Dee willingly took that photo. I think they were smiling and posing for Dee Dee. But she talks about her boyfriend, whom her mom did not like, who said he was a Dahmer type of kind of guy and a pedophile. Why? Because of his age. Because Dan was like 35, 36, 37 by this point. I don't know. Mid Mid-30s, let's put it that way, okay? He's in his mid-30s. Gypsy looks like she's 12. Her boyfriend comes over because they were going to sit on the porch. And she met him on the porch. Dee Dee came out on the porch, found Gypsy. This is in the interrogation video. And I bet you she started yelling at Dan, "You're married, you're a drug addict, get away from my daughter." She told Gypsy, "I thought I told you to go with that boy in Wisconsin." Not this one. The boy in Wisconsin. And this is when the unaliving actually happens. It's Dan. He throws Gypsy up against the wall. He grabs her neck, tells her to clean up the mess. Naked, apparently. Unclothed. I don't know if I can say that word. I'm learning YouTube. This scares her. Maybe she does want to go with Nick now. But the problem is she's already bought Nick's bus ticket. She bought him a round trip ticket. She didn't buy her one to go to Wisconsin. Because she was planning on Nick doing the unaliving, and she was going to leave with Dan back to Arkansas. And she was going to send Nick back on the bus to Wisconsin without her. Except for Dan turns very abusive after the unaliving. So this is one of the 3 theories of how it went down. I think 2 are plausible. The third one is just kind of weird. But it happened on the 9th. It happened by Dan and Dee Dee fighting. Kind of crime of passion. But see, Dan's already a wanted man. That's where the tread marks on the lawn come from, because Dan probably backed up his car, took all, because the cop asked her, "Well, you cleaned up. Where's all the dirty paper towels and stuff? Because they're not in the house. Where'd you dispose of them at?" And Gypsy kind of doesn't really know how to answer that. She kind of stumbles over that explanation of, she's like, "In the trash?" Because she can't say that Dan took it with him. Because there's cigarette butts on the sidewalk. He probably went out to smoke, didn't even think about it. Put the cigarette butts out on the sidewalk. Because he didn't have to hide it anymore from Dee Dee that he was smoking. And he peeled out of that front yard, that wet front yard, and left some tire tracks. Left his hat in the hall, left his cigarette butts, left some tire tracks. Because there are some interesting additional things. Because the cab didn't pull up on the lawn, Nick's cab, and then peel out. Because the only other vehicles at that house was a cab, because none of them had vehicles. So there's tire tracks, there's cigarette butts, and there's hats. That's unexplainable. But Gypsy does talk about a guy who was at her house that got in a fight with her mother, that her mother never liked. Now, the picture of the Cinderella movie proves that she might have liked Nick. And Nick says in his interrogation video, "Well, me and Dee Dee was nice to me. But Gypsy later told me that her mom didn't like me." Because she can't tell Nick that that plan worked. That Dee Dee said go to Wisconsin because she needs her mom unalived, or they're spending lifetime in prison for all this fraud. Because here we go into a medium fact. There's a picture of Gypsy sitting in a sink the first time her head ever got shaved. The first time at the age of 14, 15, right after Hurricane Katrina. She had hair prior than all her photos. prior to that, she has short hair, but it's hair. And then all of a sudden her head gets shaved after Hurricane Katrina. And this is where she tells Rod about cancer and leukemia. And they get that angel flight. Because right there in the Superdome, in the sink at the Superdome, that's the first time Gypsy shaves her head so they can get that angel flight out of there. She's got to have more than muscular dystrophy to get an angel flight. She's got to have cancer. And then when they get to Missouri, they need to stay at the Hope House. But you have to prove your cancer to stay at the Hope House. So they go to the dentist that also specializes in dental cancer. And they get him to sign the note that says Dee Dee's being seen by him about dental cancer. But Gypsy only stays there for 2 months in the Hope House off that letter and never once has one chemo treatment, which the Hope House did find a little awkward because you're supposed to be being treated or being fresh out of treatment to stay at the Hope House.
Yeah, we just got to order the part in.
Okay, so did you pay him like a couple hundred or something?
He asked me for 100, so I gave him 100.
Okay. Well, I would have gave him a couple hundred for a couple hours of work, and
It's fine. I want to make this money stretch as far as
I know, but okay, hopefully he can come back and finish it. Hiring a mechanic is difficult. So, where are we at? Okay. She just continues to shave her head and fake the cancer without one chemo treatment. So where is the Munchausen by proxy? Where is the medical abuse? Not one chemo treatment. We'll get into that as we get into the deeper facts too. We're getting into this goes from well-known facts, little bit of medium facts, and straight into the deep end of the iceberg. Because we're going straight down fast into the deep end of the iceberg. We're just gonna shoot down real fast into that deep end of the iceberg. And okay, so now Nick in his interrogation video, the officer says something to him about forgiving before she leaves. And so Nick's now talking to himself saying, oh, I'll forgive everybody except for Dan. I won't forgive Dan. Now we're going to get into deeper why he says that a little bit later in a minute. We're going to get deeper into that. We're getting deeper. Like I said, we're hearing medium facts and we're going to just dive straight down to those deep facts. Because this story goes straight from well-known facts down into the deep facts. There's very little in the middle of this iceberg. It's just going to go straight deep. So the first thing that Nick says in his interrogation video was the planned lie. Oh, or partial truth. Because 2 days prior to Nick coming down, Gypsy texts him, I'm sleeping in the shed with the bugs. Mom kicked me out. So he's like, I gotta go get Gypsy. Her mom kicked her out. He goes down there. He picks up Gypsy. He leaves. It's that simple. Nothing happened to Dee Dee. But the cop obviously tricks him into saying more. I don't forgive the cop for doing that. I mean, she got her story, but I don't think... I hate the way she got it, the way she lied. I hate the way cops are allowed to lie like that. They totally lied. And, I mean, that's another dilemma. Maybe we should do a whole video and a whole chat on that. Should cops be able to lie to get the truth like that? Because would the truth have been told without her lying? No, Nick would have stuck. They would have been released because they both would have stuck to their stories. Maybe. I mean, Gypsy took a minute to cave, but she caved without being lied to. I mean, that officer. But then maybe Nick had already caved by then. And so they're like, okay, we got Nick's story. We got the crime scene. Now we need to go dig at Gypsy. Oh, and everybody knows about Gypsy and the BB gun and the pew pew at her mom 10 times. Okay, so there's the shaving of the head at the Superdome. And the doctor that got them the angel flight was Dr. B, Dr. Beckerman, the one that took care of him in Louisiana. Then he moved to Missouri, and he got them the angel flight to Missouri because he was there. And he was the one doing the fraud. His is the one with the medical records of Gypsy comes in and her birthday's 95, and the next time she comes in or in the same visit, now it's 93 or 91, and his medical records are up and down on that birthday. It's spiking, baby. Like, he can't keep his records straight. You can't trust his records because it seems like he's in on the con because... And there's a rumor going around that Gypsy looks a lot like him and he may be the father, but I don't know. Now, one thing is I told you that Gypsy has this chromosomal disorder. Dee Dee got her blood tested and it came out negative for it. So it means it's on Gypsy's father's side. They went to Rod, but Rod will not test his blood. He will not. So he'll be in all the documentaries and he'll be there for Gypsy and he'll let Gypsy live with him and he'll do this and that for Gypsy, but he won't get his blood tested. Why won't Rod test his blood for Gypsy? It's a simple blood test. Is it because A, you might not be the father? B, you don't want to admit that if you are the father, that you have to get me and everybody else tested for this chromosomal disorder? And that they can pass it down to their children? Do the responsible thing, Rod. Is it in your family? Because it's not on Dee Dee's side. It's not on the Petrie side of the family. It could be on the Blanchard side. And, gosh, we might need to know about this, Rod. Give your blood up. And then, yeah, in the interrogation, Dee Dee. It shows you, if you watch Gypsy's interrogation video, it shows you what a good actress she is. She puts on a really good act. A very good one. When she's told that her mom is unalived. That her mom has passed on. Pretending like she's shocked, like she just heard the news for the first time. So that's kind of crazy. So, and when the police went over Gypsy's phone and computers and everything, she did look up, they do have a history on her computer for her looking up murder charges, accessory to it, stuff like that. She looked up, they did have some, I mean, there is things that...
Alright.
Yep.
I ordered the part. It'll be here. It'll be there Monday. His next opening is next Thursday.
Okay.
So he'll be by on Thursday too.
Okay, we'll tell them things, and if... Yeah. Just tuck the rest of that away, I guess. Because we're going to need to... Hopefully he'll finish the job on Thursday, and we'll give him the rest. Does he seem like a really nice guy? Let's jump into this iceberg. We're diving deep down here. Okay. You know what's funny though about, I did write this back down about, so while Gypsy was in jail and they were doing the act, Joey King wanted to meet Gypsy because whenever you're portraying somebody, if they're passed on, you meet their family and talk about it. Like, for example, Reese Witherspoon and Joaquin Phoenix, when they were doing Walk the Line, went and met the family members of the, and what were they like, and blah, blah, blah. And you know, and they're always happy to participate and say, hey, this, you know, this is here's how you can best portray. Yo,
500, by the way. Take almost 600.
for the part, that's expensive.
It is.
Maybe that's why the shop was charging so much.
They didn't know about that.
Oh,
They would have charged time machine. They would have charged us another $1,000.
and you bought it off eBay?
No, actually, I
Oh.
got that from a Nissan dealership. It was actually slightly more expensive on eBay.
Oh, really? Wow. So, actually, Gypsy refused to meet with Joey King, and the family did too. Joey King had to look at past videos and solely go off past videos. What little videos were out there about Gypsy, to learn the voice, to learn everything, because, and so it's kind of funny that she really wants to meet Joey King now. It's probably because she wants fame, because when Joey King really needed Gypsy to portray her, Gypsy said no, refused her visit, and so did the family. The family said, nope, we're not having any part of it. Probably because of the money issue. Pay me money and then we'll meet with Joey King. And so, okay, so let's get back into, we're talking about the interrogation and the, so there's two subjects now to talk about, the interrogation, the unaliving, and we're right back at why this is not Munchausen. Why it's not Munchausen? Because every 6 months Gypsy had to go to the ER to get her feeding tube cleaned and taken care of and changed because she wasn't using it. And also, when they get to Missouri in 2005 and they leave the Hope House and they go to an apartment, and there's 2-year time period, 2005 to 2007, between the apartment and getting the house from Habitat for Humanity. And during those 2 years' time, there are no doctor's records. There are no doctor's visits, nothing. Not until they get to that house in the Habitat for Humanity, get in that new community, the doctor's visits start back up. So for 2 years, nothing. Everything comes to a halt for 2 years. And then things only pick back up from 2007 to 2011. Things pick back up with doctor's visits and stuff, muscular dystrophy tests, whatnot, all that. But when the con is starting to come out and the doctors aren't believing them and helping them, and Dr. Flasterstein does write down possible Munchausen or something. Dee Dee's not a good historian because, you know, in 2011, once again, all things come to a stop. And all the way up to the unaliving in 2015, for those 4 years, no doctor's visits, no nothing for 4 years. No medications, no doctor's visits, no nothing for 4 years except for Dee Dee. Because Dee Dee does turn sick. Dee Dee does get diabetes and everything. Dee Dee's the one in the hospital. Dee Dee's the one. So, flip side, Dee Dee's now the sick one. But it's real sickness, not fake sickness, not con. Now Dee Dee's the one in the hospital for those 4 years, except for the occasional cleaning of the feeding tube, because people say and the RN and everything will talk about this. If you don't use it, it will get infected. It will, and it will need to be changed and cleaned. And so once we rewind and we talk about the medical records that are there, the eye surgeries, the ears, the tubes and stuff in the ears, the feeding tube, all of that has to do with the chromosomal disorder. The asthma, she did have asthma. She did have slight asthma. So she didn't have sleep apnea, but she did have asthma. And that's where in the medicine cabinet you see all those boxes of, there's a row, several, like 3 rows of inhalers and stuff, and a couple different kinds of inhalers. And yeah, that medicine cabinet is also tricky because people look at that and they immediately think this is all for Gypsy, and I feel sorry for her. But it's like 75% over the counter or more, and half of it's for Dee Dee. Because remember, Dee Dee's sick. The doctor's visits, by the time 2015 hits, June 2015, Gypsy hasn't been to a doctor's appointment except for the feeding tube in 4 years. She hasn't taken meds in 4 years. So this is where the Good Wives Network does come in. They have all the medical records. They'll go over them and they'll show you what was done and how it applies to the chromosomal disorder. Because Gypsy does have something wrong with her, just not as bad as they portrayed. And just before the unaliving, things were starting to come down on Dee Dee and Gypsy. The con was coming down. They needed to do something. They needed to figure out something. And I think this is one reason why Gypsy wanted the unaliving, because it's freaked her out. Because so they went to Disneyland again, to Florida, because Dr. Beckerman had moved to Florida. They started introducing Gypsy, who is now 23 years old, as 12, 13 years old, once again with cancer and leukemia, and the con was resetting. They were resetting the con. They were introducing her to people in Florida, all around Florida. They were resetting the con. And I can see why Gypsy didn't want to reset the con and why she wanted to get out of there. But she could have literally just walked out of there. But the con was starting to be reset. The mom was like, all right, let's reset the con. We got to move to Florida now, which is even farther away from Wisconsin. And they're resetting the con. And so I think that's why Gypsy was like, we got to do it now, before we go to Florida, before this.
By the way, that's almost certainly the reason why we're losing oil.
Well, you said, yeah, it busted through the seal. Not the seal, but the
actual cover.
The cover.
So that's us doing this repair will fix the car completely and totally.
Okay.
That's not on my list for the thing.
So that's what I said. This is good for a conversation. This video is good for a conversation, good for critical thinking, and to go kind of do your own research, because well, I mean, you can get almost everything except for the medical records, because those HIPAA laws, Gypsy has to sign for them. But because for 3 years Fancy was doing the documentaries and helping Christy and everything, they gave her all the medical records. And so Gypsy signed for them, and Fancy was able to obtain all them at that time. And so those are the only things that, because Fancy will help you out with FOIA requests and stuff to get anything else you want on the crime and everything, crime reports and stuff. If you either live in that area or you don't, and you want to still fill out a FOIA request, you can go fill out a FOIA request and get it. And so yeah, so we're at the Munchausen and the unaliving because they go kind of hand in hand. Like seriously, if what they're saying is true and these medical records coincide with, so Dee Dee took the chromosome disorder and she did blow it out of proportion and try and add some additional things to it, like, oh, she's got muscle weakness. No, she's got muscular dystrophy. So Dee Dee did take everything that was wrong with Gypsy and blow it way out of proportion, you know. But you couldn't get that kind of sympathy and that kind of pull that kind of con off of a chromosomal disorder. And then people are going to say, oh, I'm sorry, she has a chromosomal disorder, no big deal. It doesn't really impact her life, as you can see. And so nobody's going to donate to her. But if she blew it out of proportion, put Gypsy in that wheelchair, subtracted her age, gave her cancer and leukemia, and all this other stuff. I mean, because the neighbors, none of them went to a chemo appointment or anything or helped out with the chemo appointment. Nobody. There was no chemo appointments. So yeah, that kind of blows Munchausen out of the water. Because Munchausen, like I said, this girl Kate will tell you all about it, and there's been a few people coming out on YouTube lately that lived with it, and poor girl lost a healthy leg. She knew her leg was healthy, but she was so scared that she let them wheel her back into that surgery room and take it. Oh, jeez. And so, yeah, basically what's going on right now is they're trying to get content creators to fight right now and cancel each other out because we're in cancel culture. And, you know, Christy and Gypsy and stuff, if they can get people to not believe or argue or whatever, they're trying to do that with Nina. They're trying to do that with Ryan, who left Fancy, all kinds of people. They're trying to get content creators to argue and cancel each other out. So that once again, because Gypsy said, if you're a streamer and you want to tell my story, that's okay as long as you get my story from me. So, like, I guess go read her book and you could talk about her book. But if you want to talk about all these other facts that I picked up from all these other content creators, no, you can't do that because Gypsy does not approve. Because once again, she knows how to carry on somewhat of a con. She's not as good as her mom, but she's trying. She's just a little carefree and careless. Like, her mom was cold and calculating when it came to her cons. And her mom had a good memory and could lie and remember all these lies. She told everybody to keep her story very straight. Because one thing about lying is remembering your story and keeping it straight. So there's, I don't know, I've heard stories, yes and no, about towards the end, just before the unaliving, neighbors had seen Gypsy out at night walking. They may not have. I wish the neighbors would kind of come out more with, if they knew, if they saw weird things like that. Did you see Gypsy out walking? Did you have an inkling of what is going on? She's walking. She's walking down the street. What is going on? Like, I thought she was wheelchair bound. And like I said in a past video, because of the strength of her legs, There's no atrophy. You can tell she didn't live in that wheelchair behind closed doors. Behind closed doors, she was like, psh. And they say that one of the reasons why, like in the crime scene photos, you see a wheelchair in almost every room, the kitchen, the living room, blah blah blah. Oh, we'll get into that. Okay, is because somebody knocks on the door, Gypsy can jump into any wheelchair in any room very quickly, not have to run down the hall and people be like, "Do I hear running?" It's like there's running in the home, you know, because it's like, oh, wheelchair right there. Just get in, cover up, you know, get in, cover up. Okay, now talking about so Carl Jung is a famous psychologist. Him and Freud are the fathers of psychology. Love them. People get down on them too, but anyways, Ruby and all of the so Nick's personalities are follow along the 7 archetypes that Carl Jung. So when he's like, talk to this part of me, it's another one of the archetypes. And Nick just kind of, he doesn't have DID. He just doesn't want to take accountability exactly. So he turns it over to another named personality. When he feels that way and wants to talk that way, he turns that archetype over to a different named person. And Dan testified that Ruby and all that existed prior to Nick, though she already was into all of that extra stuff, extracurricular activities, wild girl. And sorry, I shouldn't click this pin, it's probably annoying some people. What's funny is there is a picture that's, you guys gotta go, everybody's gotta go relook at all the photos prior to the unaliving once again, and don't just look at it for face value. I gotta go look at all these photos and quit looking at them for face value, because there's a picture of Gypsy in a black wig that has red stripes through it with the pigtails. And you probably know what photo I'm talking about. She's sitting in front of a blue couch and there's a purple wall behind her. And above her head, because the wall kind of goes like this and then back like this and then like that, and she's sitting right here where the wall kind of goes, and there's a sideways piece of the wall right there, and there's a junction box, an electrical junction box. It's an electrical access point box, junction box. I think they're called junction box. There's a giant junction box behind her head. And you can tell that the room is lit by natural sunlight. Not artificial. It's natural. So, midday, front of the blue couch, purple wall. If you look at the crime scene photos, you'll see the living room has a blue couch, purple walls, and you'll see the junction box right there above the arm of the couch. So how much did Dee Dee know about what Gypsy was doing with Nick? Probably a lot, because that was midday, not middle of the night, midday. She's sitting there in front of that couch, purple wall, junction box. Match it to the crime scene photos. Take all of Gypsy's past videos, match it to the crime scene photos. You'll know where she's at in the house and at what time of day. And that was middle of the day. Taking pictures for Nick. All dressed up in her wigs and everything. Because some people speculate that the medical cons were not working, but Gypsy at this time is over 18. Hormones are totally on the drive. And she's now running her own cons with Dan, Nick, everybody. The shed that has the toddler bed in it and it's done up like a little girl's room. that she says she was locked in is actually, they're saying, no, that's Gypsy's studio. If a guy wanted Gypsy to dress up like Candy or a little girl or something, she would go do her videos in that shed. And so she was doing these middle of the day. For guys, whatever they requested, whatever age they wanted her to be, she would be. And that was a studio, not a punishment room. There was just one of Gypsy's studios. They have like 3 sheds on that property. Watched a video of some paranormal twin sisters that I want, interesting. Because I play Phasmophobia. They had similar tools that Phasmophobia, and they were out there, and they were trying to talk to Dee Dee, and there might have been answers. I don't know. Weird. This video is probably going really long. Like I said, this iceberg gets so deep, guys. So apparently, so Victor is the one that supposedly does the unaliving, and now I don't know if it's on the blanket above Dee Dee's hip or on Dee Dee's hip, on her clothes, on her pajamas, on her hip. There's a handprint of a V, and then they literally spelled out the word K-I-L-L, as in Victor, K-I-L-L. And Dee Dee thinks that was Victor marking. She doesn't know if Gypsy did that to frame Nick, or Nick did that himself. We don't know who did this, but it was marked for Victor. Because the theory that Dan might have did it, and she tricked Nick into thinking he did it, and then she ended up having to get her a bus ticket to Wisconsin because Dan ditched her. But then this leads into another interesting fact, because she thought her and Dan were on bad terms, because that's what she tells the cops. Because if the theory is right about Dan doing it and abusing her during the cleanup, because when she talks about the cleanup later on outside of the interrogation, she never mentions the abuse ever again. The abuse is mentioned in the interrogation video only to the cop, and she cries, and I think that might be a real cry of pain over not knowing Dan was that abusive. But so here we go. The first post happens on Facebook. The bee is, and then 20 minutes to 30 minutes later, after people are freaking out, the next post shows up, and her sweet daughter and blah blah blah, and that one. And then, wow, Missouri works fast, because Gypsy puts up 20 minutes after that post comes a third post. And this is said in the interrogation video. Not only was this said by Fancy, but this was said in the interrogation video with Nick's mom. The third post, the cop said this. Did you see the third post? She said, you saw the 3 posts. And she tells the 3 posts. The third post says, and the girl is 2. All of a sudden, Gypsy gets a text from Dan. Nick sees the text. He reads the text somehow. He somehow oversees it. The cops show up. Nick goes outside to handle the cops and leaves Gypsy hiding in the armoire by herself. Because the plan is that the girl is gone too. Nick's probably going to go out there and say, I don't know where Gypsy is, but I don't know how he's going to do that with the mom, knowing that the girl's inside. Because the mom might give it away. So I don't know how they were planning on doing this. But Gypsy jumps out the arm wire, deletes the third post, and goes outside and joins Nick. However, one of the neighbors screenshotted it just before Gypsy deleted it, showed it to the officers, all the screenshots of all 3 posts. So nobody knows about the third post because it's not talked about. But there is a third post because Gypsy had plan A, B, C, D, E, you know, probably all the way to Z, some people say, because she jumps from one plan to the next constantly. Because there is a third post. And only a select few of the neighbors saw the third post. There's actual screenshots of it that they have, if they still have it to this day, don't know. But the cops have it. The cops have it. It's in the police report. You can get a FOIA request. You can request the police report. It's right there in the police report. The cop lists it right there in the police report. Third post saying the girl's gone too. So that's kind of interesting what her whole plan was. Yep, so that covers this page. I had no idea there was a third post. There's the third. And so she lied to the cop when she said her and Dan weren't talking. Because she deleted the text between her and Dan, too. I don't know if the cops got a hold of those texts, you know, through the phone company, recovered them on the phone. I don't know. But her and Dan, apparently, when the cops, because Missouri works fast. They got that IP addy. They got the cops in Waukesha County right up there, and got the cops right up there in Big Bend, right on top of all this. And so, yeah, the bloody handprint. So there's a chance that she might not even plan to go to Wisconsin. But she ended up in Wisconsin. She tried to get Dan to come get her. She was going to leave Nick's house, but the cops got there too quick, is what Gypsy told the cop. Oh, the cops got there too quick because she had another plan in mind. She was going to leave Nick. And she should have, if she was going to leave Nick, she should have left and then done the post if she wanted only him caught. But so, that's crazy. Oh yeah, they also searched on her computer, found arson, poison, knife, gun. Like, literally, they searched everything. Like, they found crazy searches of Gypsy was looking all this up. She was thoroughly planning it, just like in her Ruby video. She's like, but you have to let me plan it. Like you can tell in that Ruby video, she was totally setting Nick up for exactly how she wanted things done. She's like, if it's a girl and she wants you, like, it's gonna be all messy and gory and it's gonna be blah, blah. But if it's a family member, it's gonna be gentle, it's gonna be nice and respectful. And no, she doesn't use those words, but basically that's what she's saying. She's like, we're gonna do it quick but nice, and you know, it's gonna, and you have to let me plan it though, because I'm gonna plan it to be perfect. And you know, everybody else gets ripped apart, but if it's family, we're gonna do it. And you gotta let me plan it though. I gotta plan it all the way. And so she does. She plans it all the way from start to finish. But she plans multiple things that go wrong all the time. Because, yeah, in the interrogation, she said, can I go back to Nick and get my stuff? And I want to go back to Missouri and I want to go back home. And it's like, yo, girl, you're not going anywhere. It's like, I mean, this is crossing multiple state lines. I'm surprised that the police handled it alone. Because we're talking crimes in Wisconsin and crimes in Missouri. We're talking crossing state lines and everything. And that the cops are like, nah, we're just bringing back to Missouri and Missouri will handle it. Talk about Missouri liking to keep their own. So, and one of the reasons why, like, Gypsy may have done those posts on Facebook is it's kind of funny. Do you find it funny that she walks into Nick's room and she sees wrestling on the bed, the wrestling sheets and stuff like that, and she's like, "Oh no, this ain't gonna do." And Nick is a wrestling fan, and then Ryan, in his first video after Gypsy leaves him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been a wrestling nerd." Is like, does either Gypsy have a type or a type that she likes to burn? Because it's like, she's like, "I'm gonna go burn all these wrestling fans." She's like, "I don't like wrestling." She's like, "I'll burn all these wrestling fans." Because both Ryan and Nick were wrestling fans. And it's like, huh. I think she also likes the tall type too, because Ryan is very tall. Nick was short. But she never planned on being with Nick. Dan was tall. Ken is tall. So yeah, I talked about the two dogs named Pixie, the second archetypes. Oh, okay, so so I guess Gypsy also planned this out so much that she tried to pull a Gone Girl too. As Fancy puts it, a Gone Girl, because there was a vial of blood in the fridge. There was blood splattered in the kitchen and throughout the home, and it was Gypsy's blood. So, wait. So that was probably she did want people to think that she was gone. Because she told the officer, "I was hoping people would think that I was gone and wouldn't come looking for me." And she was just going to go hide out. But then that backfired the second she decided to put the posts and knew that they would track the posts. She just didn't know they'd track them so fast. She thought she had time to get away from Nick after the posts were written. She didn't know that they were going to find her house, her mom, everything so fast, and send the cops after the IP address. I think that's why they were in interrogation rooms for hours on end. Because they hadn't gotten into the house yet. They're like, "Okay, we have Gypsy. She's up in Waukesha County Police Department. Now we need to get in this house and find out what else is going on." Because David Blanchard's going, "Well, I didn't really find anything." It's like, but there's DNA across the whole house, kitchen, everything. And for some reason, you didn't feel like walking in Dee Dee's room. So there's iffy stories about, I guess David Blanchard's told 3 different stories about walking into that house. About, "No, I did walk into the room. The lights weren't working." But 2 hours later, they were working for the police when they got the warrant. Or something. Like, he's made excuses for why he didn't notice Dee Dee on the bed. So yeah, that's crazy. So she tried to pull this. She set up her own unaliving too. Like, she was beaten in the house, taken, kidnapped, and her body's probably somewhere out there. The problem is she still left a vial of blood behind, so now they know. Plus, when you put your blood in the vials, there's this. If you look in the vial before the doctor puts it in there, there's a kind of waxy substance in the bottom. That's because as soon as the DNA hits it and mixes with it, it's an anticoagulant. Because your blood wants to coagulate and stuff and clump up. Turn kind of cottage cheeses or something. But however, that waxy substance is what keeps the DNA flowing. And so when they test DNA, they can tell if that coagulant's hit it or not. So, what?
Mortgage, I just called them and took us off the forbearance. We will start payments again in July.
July? Okay. So we got a couple months to survive. Okay. That's fine.
Which is good.
We need that couple months leniency so we can finish getting this car fixed. So we can finish making sure we're fine. We need to make sure we're okay. Because, yeah, we got a lot going on right now.
Well, that helps out a lot.
So we're at the very bottom of this iceberg. We're almost done with all this. Because I already talked about that. So yeah, so this is all very interesting. So there's more to this than we know. You just, like I said, you just got to go out there and kind of find that more information and talk about it and ask questions. And if you, depends on how deep down you want to go, you can go get FOIA requests and stuff. But let's get into a little family history drama, because I think that's all I have left is some family history and drama, because we've gotten down to some of the unknown stuff about the unaliving. That there was more posts on Facebook. She tried to make it look like she didn't want people looking for her. Her original plan was to run away with possibly Dan and never be found again and leave Nick heartbroken. So, let's go back to the start of the family. So, Rod's in high school. He's actually in high school with Christy. They're friends, they're close friends. Not lovers, but close friends. Rod is dating this one girl, and that's when he meets Dee Dee at the bowling alley. And then a couple weeks later, they meet up again. And Rod cheats on his girlfriend with Dee Dee. Dee Dee goes to the library. She checks out a book on how to get pregnant. She ends up getting pregnant. So then Rod has to bring her home to meet his family. And when Dee Dee meets Rod's mom, turns out she's the librarian that checked that book out for Dee Dee. So right away, Rod's mom did not like Dee Dee.
Oh, and one more thing. Our mortgage payment dropped by 100.
Okay, good. Nice. Some good news, finally. So that's interesting. So all three of them at this time, the gypsies conceived, know each other. All of them. Rod marries Dee Dee, cheats on Dee Dee with the girlfriend that he cheated on to be with Dee Dee in the first place. So he's bouncing back and forth between the two girls. Gets her pregnant, too. So she's like 5 months behind in her pregnancy, Dee Dee. Because Gypsy and Nicolette are like 5-ish months apart in age. And I think on his 18th birthday, he gives a very small, simple explanation of why he left Dee Dee. He had 2 pregnant women. He was cheating on Dee Dee. He didn't want that. Then he gets with Christy. And Nicolette's mom, later, when she's like 4 or 5 years old, marries this other guy, and Rod signs the paperwork for him to adopt Nicolette, because he just doesn't want to have anything to do with the kids that are not Christy's. He has 2 kids with Christy, and he stays married to Christy. Don't know why he finally chose to stay and settle down with Christy, but he did. Glad he finally settled down. People who knew them way back when didn't know, not until the unaliving of Dee Dee did all his closest friends find out that he had Gypsy and Nicolette. They thought that Rod had two and only two kids. Not four, two. Two. And they were Christie's. Because they never had the other two kids over at their house. They never spoke about them. But now all of a sudden, they want Gypsy around. Not Nicolette, Gypsy. Because I still don't hear any news about Nicolette. You guys still probably don't know about Nicolette. Because the poor little girl, she's not famous. So she's left out. And, well, I mean, she does have the father that adopted her. So hopefully he's the good guy. I hear he is. So, because she's not famous. So she's still forgotten. Maybe for the better. But I feel bad for Ryan because Ryan stood up for... There's a video of Ryan standing up for Gypsy saying... No, Nick was the manipulator. And then Gypsy kind of looks at the camera like, oh. Like, yeah, Nick's the manipulator. And I feel bad for Ryan because Ryan's sitting there standing up for him. And now she's out with Ken. But hey, Christy's got the life. She no longer has to drive the 3 hours to get on Lifetime TV. Crew's right there in her home now. So Christy won. She's got the crew at her house every day. And Gypsy thought she was living her best life, but apparently she's living even better now that she left more people in the dust. Who was it that has the bingo card? I think it's that girl Casey maybe, or somebody who has the bingo card. She's like, I got this bingo card on Gypsy. Or maybe I didn't write her name down. I've been watching a few people. But if I wrote something down in my notebook, then I wrote their name down in the back, saying, okay, I got something from their videos. So that I would make sure that everybody that, if I took a clip from their video, a snippet from their video, their name got written down so that they would get credit. So that, and you guys would know where I got some of the information. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys get into a good conversation and talk about it and kind of research it and look up some of these facts and look at some of the interrogation videos. And it's in the interrogation video. Those interrogation videos are very telling. If you know, just go into it, act like you don't know anything about the case and go into it. Like, just forget everything you know about the case. And go into those interrogation videos and see what you get out of them. Just leave everything behind you know. And see what you think that they're trying to convey and say. I want to see the interrogation videos side by side, time stamped. Like, when did they talk to Nick? When did they talk to Gypsy? And who said what at what time? You know, is it offset like this? Is it like this, like this, like this, like this? You know, like, were they both speaking at the same? You know, I want to know. So I think it's unfair how they did kind of treat them different. Well, they did think that Gypsy was they didn't know that she was the perpetrator. They thought she was the victim. So, yeah, they gave her the more cushy room. And they're like, Nick's the perpetrator. Give him the cold room and the cold chair. And I, like everybody else, wish she would just, if she keeps talking about she doesn't know anything about society and life and she wants to be an advocate, she needs to drop doing all this filming all the time for Lifetime. She needs to stop being so selfish and caring about her life and her fame. Drop out of the spotlight for a little while and learn. Go out there and learn. Live a private life for a minute. Come back in the spotlight when you are ready. because you're just showing your immaturity all over the place. And when you're that immature and that flighty, people don't want that for an advocate. They want people that can show stability, good decision making, and will listen. Your job as an advocate is to care about the other person, listen to the other person, and stand up for their, not put your. It doesn't matter what I've gone through in my life or anything. If I'm going to advocate for somebody, my life does not play into their story. I have to understand their story from their shoes and advocate for them, and forget about me and my story and everything that's going on with me. And she needs to be able to get to that point where she can care about another person. Because like right now, she's telling Ryan, I'm not going to get back with you because you're not caring about me. You're only caring about yourself. So Ryan's not allowed to talk about what's going on with him because that shows that he doesn't care about her. And everything's all about her. And she's not showing that she's ready to... She left the dog. She's not ready to care about something else other than herself. She doesn't even care about the dog. She doesn't even care about it. She acts like she's caring because she put those posts up to Ryan going, you want to give the dog away? And he's like, yeah, this dog belongs to a family. We were a family. And then you left. And now it's just me. And the dog. I'm not a family. The dog needs family to love it. Because dogs last for years. So even if they didn't have kids for 2, 3, 4 years, the dog would still be there in 2, 3 years when they did have kids and they had a family. The dog would be bigger. And so, dogs live 13 to 20 years, depending. The smaller the dog, the longer they live. And that's a really tiny dog. And so she up and left it all. And so nobody wants an advocate. Nobody wants them speaking for them. Nobody wants a spokesperson. She's fine for speaking for herself, but not for speaking for somebody else. Not for... She's not fine to speak for other people right now. She needs to get a lot of this immaturity out of her way, and that takes time, research. Maybe she should go to college or something. Just go start on your associates. Associates are, if you don't pick a major, you can just go get a regular associates. Unless you pick a major, social work or something like that. And if you go pick social work, you might actually learn something through that. Learn something about yourself, learn something about other people. Because social work, when you're in psychology and social work, you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about other people. Because I did social work and psychology and criminal justice. And you learn. My favorite class was maladaptive behavior, and that's the one that I totally remember a lot about, because it was learning a lot about why people have these maladaptive behaviors, these unusual behaviors, and how it stems from storylines and stuff, and the way they were raised. And as an adult, you can't stop these stuff because you're so intertwined in it, because you learn these as comforting things, and now you do them that way as an adult. And so Gypsy's had to play a child for so long, pretend she's a child for so long, that all her moves are childish. She needs to now pretend to be an adult. Fake it till you make it, girl. Maybe if she fakes it till she makes it. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Post it down in the comment section. Let me know what you think of all these crazy things. This deep dive down in there. Did you know about all those third posts and everything, and the DNA everywhere, and these secondary A, B, C, D plans about she had? And she just, because she is kind of childish and decides things on a whim. She kind of, yeah, put up those posts and everything on a whim and thinking I still have time. You know, one thing I learned in my life is when is you don't always, time is never on your side. Things happen in life. You gotta move when something's screaming at you to move, and not say time's on my side. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. I want to get on to other videos, and like I said, it doesn't have to be crime or anything. It could be whatever we want, because like right now we're enjoying doing other kinds of reviews of music videos and whatnot, and people show me videos and say, give me your opinion, Rose, and I really enjoy doing that. And we can even, you know, schedule me on YouTube going, hey, before you go over to Twitch today, Wednesday morning or something, can we do a quick YouTube video? I want to show you something and have you react and stuff. And I will figure out this YouTube. I don't like this OBS I'm using on. It's a very simple and complicated OBS to use. I'm liking, for Twitch I use Streamlabs. And that one is, I've learned how to work that one. It took me a while, but I learned how to work that one. And now I know a lot of how to work Streamlabs. But this one, I can't figure it out. It doesn't have the same things as Streamlabs. So I don't know how to work things like I work Streamlabs. But, so, I'll figure it out. Because I need to figure this out. Because I wanted to show pictures today that I didn't, but alright, well, thanks for watching me, and come in sometime when I'm live and chat it up while I discuss things, because I love the live chat. So I go live instead of pre-record because, well, editing's never fun, and I like the live chat. I like the live convo because, you know, I like getting into the discussion, and it could either keep things cemented the same, or it could change the direction of things just by somebody coming in and adding something, not just in a comment section, but I love it in the comment section too, because I will come in later and I will check my comments and I will post to you, and I like it. I love it when we can just live back and forth. But and thanks Joshi Washi Dashi for coming in and watching, and this video went longer than I thought, but like I said, that iceberg gets deep. I finally had to quit and be like, I'm done, I'm just gonna do the video, and I don't want to keep going deeper into this iceberg. There's so much, like, you can do so many more iceberg videos, because this story just keeps getting deeper and deeper the more you look into it. The more you keep finding out things, there is more truth out there, there is more stories out there, there is more things to find. I mean, these are only the things we've found out. Think of the things we haven't found out. Okay? And look at those videos yourself, and look at them in a different light. Look at the videos prior to Hurricane Katrina and stuff, and well, even after, prior to the unaliving, everything. Well, she was living with her mom, and look at those videos and think, or the movies and stuff, the pictures that they think are just simple pictures that they want to show of Gypsy and her in that life, and don't just look at it for face value and be like, oh, okay, that's just another. Actually think about what that really, the real truth of what that photo's displaying, not what they want you to think it displays. Like I said, that picture was supposed to just prove that she had another persona, but it shows mid-daylight in the living room. Maybe even Dee Dee took it. I don't know. There could be a chance that Dee Dee even took that photo. We don't know. Somebody took that photo. Either she took it by posing in front of a phone or a computer or something, or Dee Dee took it. Because how much did Dee Dee know? Was that their next con? But then she came up with that Florida con because Beckerman wanted her to come to Florida. And so she says, you know what? We'll just restart the medical con again in Florida. She's like, Gypsy, get back in that wheelchair. Let's go. And I can understand why Gypsy didn't want to. She should have said, look, I'm going to Wisconsin. Bye. Instead of buying Nick that round trip ticket, she could have bought a one-way ticket out there. But then her mom wouldn't have given her money. She wouldn't have the $5,000 on her. Blah, 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 blah. You know, so if she wanted more than just a bus ticket to Wisconsin and be poor once she gets up there, and she didn't want to eventually get busted for all these medical cons and possibly go to a lifetime of prison once people found out she was up and walking and living a normal life and popping out babies normal, Dee Dee had to go. So yeah, critically think about things, guys. I'll see you later. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay warm, stay happy, stay loved. Because you really are.